Just the other day, Rocksteady held a developer Q&A for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and we found out that Suicide Squad isn't like your typical looter shooters. It does a couple of things that no other looter shooters have ever done, and some of the features and design choices that they made might just be exactly what it will need to set it apart from other looter shooters and make it a completely unique experience. So as I said, Rocksteady held a developer Q&A in their official Suicide Squad Discord channel, and with that Q&A we got some amazing info on how Endgame will work within the game. And as we all know, Endgame is what makes or breaks a good looter shooter. We've all seen too many good loot games get their plugs pulled by publishers due to the player base leaving or being unhappy with the game, and one of the biggest things that makes looter fans grab their pitchforks and torches while throwing tomatoes is when a game has a bad or non-existent endgame. Whether it's Destiny 1, Anthem, Outriders, Division 1, or even games like Diablo 4, there's one thing all of those games have in common is that their endgame was either extremely lackluster in one way or another, or simply just not even there at launch. And after hearing Rocksteady's plans for endgame, or how loot will work, or how we will be able to build our characters with crazy game-breaking damage, or even some of the features that they have planned for the game, I honestly think that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has a chance to be an incredible experience for those of us who do enjoy farming and grinding for new gear to complete our builds, or doing fun, challenging dungeons or missions with our friends, or for those of us who maybe have a slight loot addiction.
Ooh, a piece of candy.
I truly do hope that the next Insider video shows some of these features off, because this is the stuff that they should be advertising for the game. This is the stuff that will sell the game to more looter shooter fans like myself. They haven't really advertised that side of the game yet, so I'm really hoping the next Insider video goes more in depth into the looter shooter mechanics of the game. But without further ado, let's jump into the news about the endgame. So as we discussed in my last video, in typical looter shooter fashion, the game will include 4 playable characters: Boomerang, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and King Shark. If you do want to see that video that I made last time, by the way, I will leave a link to it in the card in the top right hand corner. But each character has their own unique abilities and traversal methods as well. You can find different kinds of guns and armor and items to earn that give you different bonuses to your stats or affect your character in different ways, while also offering 3 skill trees for each character that let you customize each of them to your own preferred playstyle. But one of the cool features that was discussed in the developer Q&A was the feature called Squad Talents. Basically, once you reach max character level on one of your characters, you unlock Squad Talents, and each time you level up after max level, that will give you a point you can spend on increasing your personal specialization of weapons or certain gameplay mechanics. And while gameplay mechanics and certain specializations of weapons is awfully vague, the system sounds like a Paragon level from Diablo or a badass rank in Borderlands. Because in Borderlands, each time you leveled up past max level, you earned a new point you could spend on something like reload speed or headshot damage or action skill cooldown rate. And same for Diablo 3. You could spend your Paragon points on the giant list of stats to permanently increase those stats for your account. Diablo 4's Paragon system, though, was slightly different. Paragon boards in Diablo 4 were absolutely insane, and if we get something even remotely close to this in Suicide Squad, I'm gonna need new pants. And each character that gets to level 30 then contributes to your overall squad level. So just like in Diablo and Borderlands, because the stats that you upgrade are account-wide, the more you play, the crazier your other characters will be. Even if you make a new character, they will start out with higher stats because of the squad talents. And because squad levels are infinite, you will definitely see that one streamer who has like level 1000 because they haven't seen the sun in 2 years.
You got me.
They also mentioned a new feature for missions called Psyched Up, where if a certain member of your squad has beef with a certain villain that you will maybe encounter or work with in the mission, that member of your squad can get psyched up. They gave the example of Boomerang working with Penguin because of the history that they have together. When you play as Boomerang during that mission, you will do more damage, take less damage, and get a massive XP boost as well. So it seems like it's a great way to level up your characters and get more squad levels. The only thing that we don't know is if this can be done while in co-op with your friends or other people. Like if your whole team can play as Boomerang and all get the psyched up bonus, they use the specific wording of, if you are playing single player, we have our psyched up feature, which makes it sound like it is only allowed when you're solo. Hopefully this mechanic makes its way into certain endgame missions as well though. That would be awesome. Now let's talk about the extra details they gave us about the world and its activities. So as you explore the map in the game, you will find that the Riddler makes a return with even more puzzles, AR challenges, and trophies. That is right, if you love the hundreds of Riddler puzzles from the Arkham games, this game has them as well. Now if you hate puzzles, especially the Riddler puzzles from the Arkham games, then get that Google tab ready, because you're going to need to Google a lot of these. They detailed the AR challenges as traversal courses, possibly like jumping puzzle type activities that you have to complete within a certain time limit. And some of the puzzles will test your mental fortitude as well as your intellect and your knowledge of the DC universe. According to the developers, they award some free outfit pieces for your characters and probably will do some like XP or something as well. There will also be side missions, iconic landmarks, and hidden Easter eggs around the map as well, so it kind of gives you a reason to explore the entire map. Plus, the city of Metropolis is going to be changing quite a bit, not only from the story events, but after they launch the game as well, they'll be making changes to the world, as well as with Brainiac being able to phase in other worlds. These could possibly be like mid-season events, or even weekly reset events like Xur from Destiny. Even the layout of the map will change apparently, so whatever routes you take during a mission may change for a period of time as well. They are also going to have several types of missions, and they gave us 2 specific examples. Incursion missions, which sound like they might be similar to like a strike from Destiny, or like an expedition from Outriders, or strongholds from Anthem. These missions have you sent into Brainiac's domain under the protection of a Prometheum shield that protects you from the Skull Ship's tentacle beams, as well as they protect you from the full force of Brainiac's army. And you have to fight your way through the enemies, but at a certain point, your shield may go down and you have to fight your way back or run back to your base. And the other type of missions that they gave us examples for is one called Killing Time missions, which is literally just a horde mode. That's right, we finally got our horde mode in a frickin' looter shooter. We don't know if it'll be infinite waves, but they do say that as the difficulty goes up, so do the rewards. They described it as missions where the squad is battling an increasingly frantic horde of Brainiac's enemies, and they have to keep killing the enemies to fuel the Prometheum shield, because once it goes down, there's no hiding from the Skull Ship's tentacles, which, if this is like an infinite horde mode that's like the old school COD zombies from World at War, or like the Gears of War horde mode, I'm gonna need new pants again. I cannot wait to see what they do for this horde mode. But now let's go over what they talked about for the loot, the builds, and the theory crafting that you can do within the game. Because in any good looter shooter, it needs, well, loot. And one of the most fun aspects of playing a looter shooter is the ability to craft different builds and really experiment with your skills, or different mods, or different special effects that your gear provides you. In the Q&A, they talk about different things like the rarity levels of the loot, the kind of legendary items that we can get, and how we can combine those to be extra lethal. But they also mentioned how one of the main focuses of the endgame is to theorycraft new builds. They really want you to try to find new ways to break the game, it seems. And if you're familiar with any looter shooter, we are definitely gonna break it. So there are 7 rarities of items to find in the game, but some of them are locked behind the toughest content in the game, it seems, as well. The rarities are common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, infamy gear sets, and finally, notorious items. Now I'm totally cool with them locking the best loot behind tough missions. I want something that I can show off and brag about having because I beat some mission on a stupidly hard difficulty. I want that same feeling that I got from getting the OG Vex Mythoclast from Vault to Glass before they nerfed it in Destiny 1. Or even if it's based off of RNG, I want that Gjallarhorn feeling. Or like getting the OG Conference Call in Borderlands 2 before they nerfed the B Shield. Or getting the Death Shield in Outriders. That feeling is the best, so I hope the loot drops in the game will give us that same feeling. In the last video, we talked about the loadouts feature where you can save your items and gear into different presets you can choose whenever you're out of combat, which is just amazing that the game already has loadouts, because some games go years without adding it, if ever. And it's usually one of the first requested features after launch because it gets extremely tedious trying to swap all of your gear around for different activities or just to try something new for a bit. They have also talked about a transmog system that will be in the game as well, where you can have the best gear for your build and still use whatever skins you want to use in different parts for helmets or different things like that. And they've shown us that there are different weapon manufacturers like Borderlands and Destiny as well. But in the Q&A, they did mention some of the cool things about the gear that you can find within the game. They had some very specific examples for different builds that were making the rounds within their little offices. For example, one of the builds they mentioned was using a certain grenade that gives you like 500% extra damage with 100% bigger radius, and then using other gear or skills to spawn as many grenades as possible to unleash your inner Michael Bay. Or other ones like using a sniper rifle that freezes enemies on critical hits. I know my buddy Mistborn is going to have a Swiss cheese desk after hearing that. Yep, you get to have another iceberg. So legendary items have unique augments that can change your build in some pretty crazy ways, it seems. But then you still have Notorious gear and Infamy sets. Infamy gear sets are those set pieces we talked about in the last video. They will take the essence of a certain villain and give you their powers on top of your normal skills. And for each piece of the set that you have equipped, you will earn more bonuses from that set, just like Diablo or the Division gear sets. And the bonuses are centered around different playstyles, so it can enhance your playstyle even further. But the Notorious items are the highest rarity in the game. They did mention that an endgame build will more than likely consist of like legendary items, infamy sets, and the rest being Notorious items. And while infamy sets are themed around certain playstyles while giving you certain buffs inspired by DC villains, Notorious items are the craziest items apparently that go all out. Since they're the rarest items in the game, they are themed around famous DC villains both in the look of the weapon, but also the augments that they can have as well. The developer said the augments on the weapons are so unique that when you find one, they wanted you to like really change your playstyle and build to work with the weapon. So it sounds like those Notorious weapons won't be something like 200% more headshot damage. It'll be actually something you want to try out and something that will change the whole build. I cannot wait to see how much more of these they have in store. Now, one of the craziest features of the game involving the loot is called Social Squad. This feature is specifically designed for the busy people out there. It allows you to add other people's characters into your squad, whether it's randoms from the global leaderboard, your friends, or your favorite YouTuber, streamer, playboy, billionaire philanthropist, Mr. J. Am I allowed to make a Marvel joke during a DC video? But the craziest thing is that they're not just adding them into your squad. The other person's character will keep the gear, cosmetics, talent points they earn from leveling up and everything like that while they're with you. So now if your buddy can't get on, but you have a few hours to play, you can add their character to your game and go do some missions or solve some Riddler puzzles, and they get to help you along the way and keep the loot. That is so dang cool. I've never seen a feature like that in a game before. This one feature already shows that Rocksteady is thinking outside the box and proving that they seem to have what it takes to stand with the biggest players in the live service and looter shooter genre. But the last huge piece of news about the endgame for Suicide Squad is something that I feel is overall a good thing, but could be a bit divisive for some people. They're apparently removing gear score from the game. So what that means is that if you find an item that you just love and you don't want to get rid of it from the early game, well, you don't have to. You can use that early legendary gun or item or whatever for the entire length of the game into the end game. The only thing that will get you to drop that early game legendary or item or whatever it is maybe if you get like a better version with better rolls, or if you get a higher rarity item that you like more. That also means the true end game isn't chasing an ever increasing number and having to refarm for the same gear that you had, but a new tier of it. The true end game will be actually experimenting with different builds and having fun with the game. And it may also mean that playing with your friends who are new to the game will be easier because everyone still benefits from the drops. You won't fall behind your friends unless you start finding all Notorious and Infamy gear and have super high squad levels or something. They said that during their playtests internally and over the course of development, they realized they didn't want players chasing a linear increasing power value. They wanted players to find new gear that was truly game-changing with crazy effects that would change how you played the game by just finding that one item. Gear that made you want to build in a new direction and try to find a new crazy idea with it. And I absolutely love that. I am all about theory crafting new builds, and I'll be even making my own build guides for Suicide Squad, just like I have for other games like Outriders and Diablo. So be sure to subscribe if you want to see more of that future content on this game. But the only thing that does make me a little nervous about removing the gear score is that it also removes a sense of player progression. So completing a super hard, challenging mission won't reward you with a new item that increases your gear score or power level, it will just be the item itself. So if the item itself is bad, you don't get anything out of that mission besides maybe resources or XP or something. We will have to see how this feels though once the game is fully out. Like, I don't want to judge that too much. I think removing the gear score is overall a really great thing. So it seems like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has potential to be one of the best looter shooters we've seen in a few years. As long as they keep bringing out new endgame missions or different modes for us to play and keep the loot crazy and fun, this could be ridiculous. And I do love that they held a Q&A for the game, and I hope they do more of these, but this needed to be streamed. They should have tweeted this out and made a big marketing event for the game instead of almost like hiding it away in the Discord channel that most people are not even in. But I'm curious though, what are your thoughts about Suicide Squad? Are you hyped? Do you like that they removed the gear score from the game? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your way out and like the video if you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Later, nerds!